Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the latest episode of Extra Time. My name is Charlotte Richardson, and I'm going to be your host as we have yet another really fascinating, inspiring guest to introduce you. For this episode, I'm talking to a club based in the West Midlands, and we're going to be exploring the theme of identity mixed with governance, and hopefully, you'll be able to take away lots for your club and your league. So without further ado, let me introduce Luke Thompson, who is the Secretary at Oldbury United. Luke, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, tell me a little bit about your wonderful football club.
So I'm club secretary of Oldbury United, and we're based in Samwell, in the West Midlands. So the club is the chairman of the club is my dad. He started taking on that responsibility in around 2017. It was a bit of a difficult period for Oldbury. They've got quite a rich history, but certain things away from the pitch meant that it was sort of a club that was in decline. So we've just spent sort of the last 5, 6, 7 years just trying to rebuild it and create a club that the community can be proud of.
Well, what you highlight there, Luke, is what a lot of clubs go through, kind of transitions, growing pains, and so on. And am I right in saying that you've grown from having no teams in 2017 to over 40 plus teams today and over 1,000 players registered? That is pretty impressive. The work that you've been putting in, it has really been paying dividends.
Yeah, I mean the growth's been amazing. With Albury, we have a sister club as well, a club called AFC Wolves, which is based in Wolverhampton. I'm the chairman of AFC Wolves. I set that club up in 2017. So the two clubs work really well together, and it just allows us to sort of expand what we want to offer from a footballing point of view, just a bit further geographically within the Black Country. So I think next season we're going to be starting with about 43, 44 teams, ranging from under sevens all the way up to men's first team. And we should be getting our first girls teams in leagues next season as well. So that's a really exciting time. So between the two clubs, and with our other offerings of sort of after school clubs, half term camps, all that sort of stuff, I think we're reaching out to over a thousand people, getting them involved in football. Yeah.
You're doing such an amazing job. And I just wondered, alongside that dynamic of having a parent club in the local area as well, what would you put it down to, that growth that you've experienced over the last few seasons?
I think it's just mainly down to just hard work, determination, graft, putting the hours in. Building relationships, networking in football is massive. We're very fortunate that we've got some good partnerships with the local authority, the police, health providers. We've built up some really good working relationships with schools, colleges, the local university as well. So for me, yeah, you've got your hard work, you've got your determination, but without the networking, the growth, it takes a while longer. So that is probably the most important thing, building up those partnerships and those
Yeah,
relationships. Yeah.
collaboration is so key. And what we tend to find with In the Box in these episodes of Extra Time is we have a whole host of different volunteers tuning in for tips and advice, and often perhaps volunteers at the very start of their journey. And they're hearing you describe this amazing football club that reaches so many children and offers football to them. But it didn't start like that. Every club has a starting point.
Mhm.
When you look back at that very beginning, what kind of resources did you need? And would you advise someone to prioritize if they're looking to go on that sort of trajectory that you've experienced at Oldbury United?
Um, I mean, resource wise, I think that the most important thing is to have your philosophy as a coach, as a club, your values, your principles, and really stick by them, and just believe in what you're trying to achieve. Um, Baby steps as well. I've been guilty of it, of trying to run before I can walk. but I think it's so important just to build step by step, take those baby steps, and also just to sort of don't be scared to make mistakes either. I think making mistakes, it's valuable in the learning process, in the development process of, if you look at it as a football coach, as a secretary, as a chairman, as a player, a parent, making mistakes, that's probably what we learn the most from. So for me, it's having that identity, that philosophy, having some really strong values, and sticking by them and believing in them. If you believe in them, then then the children that come and play, the parents that bring the children, guardians, carers, then they'll believe in them as well.
Well, you said that key word first, identity, which has been a real focus of our recent episodes of In the Box and so on. How did you create your club's identity? Did it start as a bit of a conversation? Was it a thought in your mind that you kind of then put down in paper and then into practice?
Yeah, it was sort of just creating a space where anyone can come and get involved in football. Football is, for me, it's massive in what it can offer people, in what it can offer communities. Um, so, so, so sorry, I've completely forgot my
No,
own
that's
thought
all right.
process there.
No, but I think it kind of, this discussion anyway for me, and talking to someone that has to do so much within a football club. What
Mhm.
always is the foundation is the identity, from running the teams to the Saturday soccer clubs you do. And you do so much more than that as well. You do a lot of work within your local community around sort of preventing crime, but also
Mhm.
you do volunteers projects as well. And I think if you tell us a little bit more about that, I think that will further bring to life the identity of your football club.
Yeah, so I mean, we just want to be a football club that anyone can access. Whether you're new to the game, whether you've got years upon years of experience within the game, and that's just not just from the playing side, from the coaching, from the volunteering side as well. We've just set up a coach volunteer program where our volunteer coaches, when they're sort of introduced to the club, we'll get them enrolled onto this program so we can support them. So obviously, within our volunteer cohort, we've got experienced coaches all the way up to UEFA B. So we try and use those coaches to mentor the newer coaches that come through, so we can guide and support them through their playmaker, their introduction to football, first aid, safeguarding. Because from what I find from our volunteer coaches and the struggle that we have, even though we're fortunate with the number of volunteers that we have, you can never have too many volunteers at grassroots football. So we're always looking for new volunteers to come and help us grow the project. But I think sometimes, if I look at myself, when I first got involved in grassroots football, helping my son's team when they was under sevens, I was petrified. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to sort of coach the children, how to interact with the parents, and building those relationships. So I look back when I would have started. If somebody was there to sort of mentor and guide me, I would have really appreciated that. So that's what we're trying to put in place now, just to make our new coaches and volunteers feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more at ease, and to upskill them ultimately into becoming better coaches and eventually mentors themselves. So I think that's a key part of our process now, is sort of how we sort of manage and look after our volunteers.
I think you're really ahead of the game on that. Like you say, no football club has enough volunteers. It's
Mm-hmm.
something we're out and about within the box, talking to clubs, desperately needing volunteers, because with all this growth, of course, you getting more and more players involved. You need more and more volunteers to
Yeah,
help
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. And an impression I'm really getting from speaking to you is a sort of synergy between how you try and operate the football club and how it reflects the society and the community that you're a part of as well. How important is it not only to sort of have diversity on the pitch, but diversity and reflection of the people that you're around in your day-to-day community within football?
I think it's massive. Grassroots football clubs, I personally believe we have a massive part to play within our communities. There's some it doesn't matter if you're a small grassroots club with one team, or you're a huge grassroots football club with 50, 60, 70 teams. We are sort of a core element of our community. So from our point of view, we try and recognise what our community is, and how we can sort of better the people within our community. We live in an area where there's lots of youth violence, antisocial behaviour, high levels of poverty. So how can we as a club sort of help our members and the wider community? So for us, it's not just about playing football on a Sunday morning. Our parents who bring children to the club, how can we upskill them? Is there projects that we can put on to upskill them, to sort of get them valuable life skills, cooking, English, if English isn't the first language spoken at home, CV writing courses. These are all the things that we're looking at moving forward, just so we can try and better people's lives within the community. Same with our volunteer program. We put them through first aid, safeguarding, EE Playmaker. We offer them sort of physical coaching hours as well. But it's not just the football side. Like, there's so much that you can learn and take away from volunteering in grassroots football that will help you away from football, in your professional life, in your social life, in your home life. So, just trying to upskill people if and where we can.
I think you've got it so spot on in terms of the volunteer program you're running, and that idea that upskilling people is going to bring them a lot of benefits as well. What other things would you say in terms of tactics that the football club employs to attract volunteers, as well as that, obviously, that program where you're upskilling? Are there any other sort of things that you use to try and grow that foundation of people giving up their time?
Yeah, so we fully understand that volunteering in grassroots football, it takes up a huge amount of somebody's time, and time is valuable to everybody. We all wish we had more time, more hours in the day. So one avenue, well, a couple of avenues that we are looking down, to try and keep the program sustainable, is links with the local colleges, and the local university. Any students that are doing at BTEC sports, sports degrees, can we bring them onto our volunteer program so we can get them FA accredited qualifications, and also the hands-on experience, which is invaluable. As good as the FA courses are, and I'll take my hat off, they're fantastic. You can't beat that hands-on physical coaching experience. So if we can build, develop, and grow our relationships with the local colleges, schools, universities, then hopefully we can sort of turn it into a nice loop where we're constantly getting volunteers through the door, educating them. Then they're going off to do whatever they want to do in the world of football, and then we can get the next sort of generation of young coaches through.
You've built a really fantastic and positive cycle, which is obviously such a catalyst for good social change within the local community because of all of your hard work, from building that identity, having your values, and then putting it into practice. Have you found that in turn the football club has attracted interest from other partners? Have you been approached? Have there been other organisations that come out of our sort of footballing grassroots world to approach you and say, look, can you help us interact with this group of young people? Can you help engage here? Has that happened for you guys yet?
Not really, but then I think that's where we are. We don't put out there what we do enough, if I'm being brutally honest. So, I mean, if anybody's listening who wants to get involved in social media and grow a social media channel, get in touch. Love to get you on board,
Luke,
because
always needing volunteers, always needing
that
to get a social media
that
person in.
honestly, that's what
Yeah.
we are crying out for, somebody to come in and grow our social media, because, like I said, we do some good work within the community, but we probably don't talk about it enough and get it out there. But I mean, from our existing relationships, like with the local authority, especially, they will reach out to us and say, look, can you come into this school and do a talk, or can you put on some sessions for us? But if we could grow our partnerships even wider. If partners want to approach us, we're more than happy to see where we can help within the community.
Well, I definitely think they should be knocking on the door, because what you've achieved in such a short space of time has been absolutely phenomenal. As I mentioned at the very start, we've kind of been theming this conversation around identity, which to some people might mean one thing, to others another definition of the word. But the point being that when you sort of start on a journey, whether you're a 3-star accredited club or you haven't even formed yet, the importance of having a bit of a plan, a bit of a vision.
Yeah.
And you mentioned as well that you'd created that identity, and then you built some values into that. What would you say are the values of the football club, and how have they served in terms of your development planning and what you've grown on to achieve?
So some of the values is we like to work just about honesty, hard work, respect, determination. I feel that they're core values in life, which then can be transferred into the footballing world. We like our conversations to be open, to be honest, to be transparent, so everybody sort of knows what we're heading for, what we're aiming for, what work we're doing. The respect thing is massive as well. Volunteers, they give a lot of the time, and can often feel undervalued, which I feel, when people are giving their time to help the community, help a football club grow, then respect is such a big part. Again, and we try and take values that are transferable on and off the field.
Yeah, really, really important, isn't it? I think that's where the power of football, it can be so transferable. What you're learning
Mm-hmm.
on the pitch, what you're building off of it as well, is incredibly important. And time always flies on these extra time episodes. So I'm aware that the clock is ticking. So I just wanted to ask you to give some of your top tips, really, because we're heading into the summer and some of the seasons are kind of coming into a close. And it's often a chance where chair people, committees, volunteers, they get a little bit of downtime and they get to sort of plan for the future as well. And growth is the main thing, but sustainability is really important
Mm-hmm.
as well. So given all of your years experience, what sort of tips would you give to those volunteers looking to grow a sustainable football club?
Um, you've got to be determined. You've got to have that passion. You've got to have that fire in your belly, and sort of have that belief. Have that belief. Have your plan. Sort of track where you want to be in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, 1 year's time, 6 months' time, 3 months' time, and like I said earlier, just take those baby steps towards achieving your goals. There's going to be ups and downs. There always is in football. Nothing is ever plain sailing. But one key thing is when the lows come, don't reflect on them too long. Learn from them, and then sort of implement the changes that will turn that low into a high. I think that's probably one of the main sort of killers in grassroots football is the lows. And people struggle to sort of get out of that rut, or they lose hope and they lose faith in what they're trying to achieve. But for me, it's just constantly just believing in what you're trying to do, and if what you're trying to do is coming from a good place, then people will back and support you.
It's a cliche that football managers use, isn't it? Never too high, never too low. But I think it applies across the whole football pyramid, whether you're a
It
coach
does.
or a chairperson or a volunteer giving up a couple of hours a week. It is demanding as much as it is rewarding. So my
Yeah.
final question to you, because I think many people will take away a lot of advice and find the story and what you've done incredibly inspiring. But what's next? What's the next aim on your development plan? What would you really like to achieve? And what after you've had your summer break, of course, and a chance to recharge?
What's the summer break? No summer break. But I mean, long term, we need our own facility, 3G surface, and and the world would literally be our oyster. So for me, long term, our own facilities with a 3G playing surface, and all these ideas that are running about in our head, we can really push forward with them then and start running with them.
Well, Luke, I think that would definitely be a fantastic cause to champion, you guys having that own facility, because what you're doing within the local community. I've obviously spent time speaking to Russ, the club consultant as
Oh
well,
god,
who
yeah.
who has said amazing things about you. And even in this very brief conversation, it's clear that Oldbury United is in very safe hands of you. So I'd like to take this opportunity to not only thank you for coming on this episode of Extra Time, but to wish you all the best and to keep doing what you're doing as well.
No, thank you, and thanks for having us on. You know, it's great for us to be able to tell our story, and get people listening. And you mentioned Russ. I was meant to give him a shout out, but Russ, absolutely, absolutely fantastic. So one of the key things: get yourself a mentor as good as Russ, and you'll
There
be
we
all
go.
right.
I love that. I love that. Especially as that's the note we're going to end on. Thank you so, so much, Luke.
No, thank you, Charlotte.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of Extra Time as well. The conversation doesn't stop here. Make sure that you come and join us on our free online community Clubhouse. You can find how to sign up for free, like I said, to access resources, tips, ask questions, and meet like-minded volunteers, exactly like Luke, doing incredible things across the country to support and grow and sustain our grassroots game. Make sure you keep your eyes peeled as well for the next episode of In the Box, which should be landing very, very soon. And until next time, take good care and goodbye.